Hey, blast off, I can talk my ass off. Hey, smoke you what you seen and I'll tell you what I saw. Hollywood, what you think and I'll tell you what I thought. And we can talk about it all.
What's up, what it do, y'all? We back!
We made it.
We made it, Smoke.
What up?
Dog.
What up?
What number this is, bro?
40.
Yo, we done did 10s, we done did 20s, we done did 30s. Smokey, can I get 40 in Spanish? 40 in Espanol.
40.
For real?
Si.
Dog. Awesome. Y'all, welcome back to the 40th episode of the Trash Talk Podcast. We have a loaded baked potato episode for you today.
Loaded with the chives and the bacon bits and the sour cream. And,
No cheddar?
cheddar, man. All the cheddar you want.
Thank you.
All over this episode.
Y'all, we're going to be talking about... What are we talking about, Smoke? You want to tell them what this is about?
Global, it's not even called global warming anymore. Climate change.
Right. You know, me personally, I would still call it global warming.
I would too, because technically we're still in a warming period.
Right. So, okay, we can definitely...
Yeah, we'll get into that. And I think I have a reason why they switched the names of it.
From global warming to climate change?
Yes.
Okay, interesting, guys. I'm sure wherever you are right now, if you're in the southeastern part of the United States, or even you might even be in the northern part of the United States, I'm sure it's 533,000 degrees outside. But
We got a little break from it this week, though.
yeah, we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
But before we get there, y'all, let's get into some segments. And I think they're called OMG and WTF. What we got in the great state of Florida? Smoke?
Boom! In Florida. You want to know what's going on in Florida, man, this week?
Not really, but sure, entertain me.
All right. This comes from Newsweek. Florida man arrested for allegedly breaking into a house and trying on baby clothes while holding a woman hostage.
Why?
You heard me right. He was trying on baby clothes. I don't even know how that's logistically possible, but apparently, let's get into this.
Why?
A Florida man is accused of breaking into a woman's home and holding her hostage while he pleasured himself and tried on her baby's clothes. Christopher Strickland, age 36, was arrested last week on charges of aggravated assault, battery, home invasion with a weapon, larceny, and unnatural and lascivious sex offense. And an unnatural and lascivious sex offense.
What does lascivious mean?
Lascivious.
As he scratches his head.
Well, I was scratching my ear, but
I'll Google it.
yeah, go ahead. I don't want to give out a false term.
Yeah, but
I mean,
go ahead.
it's another word for extravagantly lewd.
Okay.
But you can give the official definition.
All right.
Strickland was allegedly wearing women's clothing, including a red and pink bra, as well as a camouflage vehicle. Man, my words are hard. A camouflage vehicle, I think it's a misprint. A camouflage vehicle headrest over his head when he broke into the woman's home and around 6 a.m. on June 2nd.
What? Can I read that sentence?
Yeah,
Just let me read that sentence, please.
go for it.
All right, is the first one?
Yeah, right there.
Strickland was allegedly wearing... All right. Including a red and pink bra, as well as a camouflage vehicle headrest over his head.
Yeah, does that make any sense?
Huh. Okay, I'm sorry. Continue.
Anyway, this is very, very weird. He then allegedly dragged her into the living room and forced her to watch pornography on his phone while he pleasured himself.
No.
Sheriff deputy said. The woman told Escambia County Sheriff, we've had Escambia before, deputies, the suspect held a pillow over her face, but she managed to struggle free, the Pensacola Journal News reported. He then held a knife to her throat, and told her he would kill her baby
Oh my
if
God.
she tried to get free again.
YouTube. Let's just remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should go even farther.
I mean, go for it, but let's try to keep the explicitness to
The woman said Strickland took a bra and underwear from her dresser drawer and put them on. She said that at one point during the 3-hour ordeal, she also saw him trying on clothes that belonged to her baby.
Jesus.
The woman tried to call the police, but he allegedly grabbed her and forced her to stay on the couch, scratching her in the process. According to the Journal, Strickland left the woman's residence around 9 a.m. Before leaving, the woman said he warned her he would return and kill her if she reported the incident to police.
Smokey.
Yes.
Morbid story.
It is. I didn't read the story all the way through, which is obvious. But with the headline, I thought it was going to be more lighthearted. I mean, obviously, nothing's lighthearted when someone breaks into your house and starts forcing you to do things. But just the headline, man arrested for allegedly breaking into a house and trying on baby clothes while holding a woman hostage. There's nothing lighthearted about it, but you would think it was more of a mental illness criminal that just was doing something stupid, but apparently had very malicious intent.
I agree. Just curious, what is that clicking noise?
Oh, my bad. I didn't notice I was doing that.
Is that you over there?
Is my is that picking up?
Yeah, that's his nervous.
It is. Yeah, my bad.
Just for you guys out there, when I asked for the definition of the word, how do you say it?
Lascivious.
Lascivious. Okay, the word lascivious means to describe a person's behavior that is driven by thoughts of sex.
Mm-hmm.
If someone gives you how do you say it?
Lascivious.
Lascivious smile, they got only one thing in mind.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this guy definitely...
So, extravagantly sexual in nature. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Strickland of Pensacola, Florida, was booked into Escambia County Jail on October 2nd. He is being held on $283,500 bond.
$283,000?
Yes,
so
as
28
listed
grand
in the jail records.
28 grand.
No, 283 grand.
Yeah, but you'd pay 10% of a bail bond.
Yes, yeah. So you're gonna have to pay at least 28 grand.
30 grand.
Yeah,
right.
Pretty much. Yeah.
Okay, first of all, let me ask. For morbid story.
Mm-hmm.
Morbid.
Yeah, because I guess you could say morbid. I mean, he technically didn't kill anyone, but
okay, yeah, morbid may not be the word.
Morbid intent, maybe. I mean,
I don't know.
Threats of morbidity.
Very much so. My thing is, dude, she was in this situation for 3 hours.
Yes.
3 hours?
Yes.
Smokey.
Yeah.
Let's watch the Titanic.
Yeah.
Now let me put you through what's the L word?
Lascivious.
Let me put you through those acts.
Torturously lascivious behavior.
Through the entire movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I
couldn't imagine.
You mentioned that he had charges of breaking and entering.
Mm-hmm. You want me to read that whole rap sheet again?
read his charges again, because this isn't Florida, where I'm sure they have a stand your ground law.
Yes.
Wherever her husband was, or wherever her loved the baby's daddy.
Yeah.
You do that in 90% of the houses in Georgia, you have the right to blow their heads off.
Mm-hmm. Where was the list again?
I want to say it was breaking and entering, lewd behavior.
Yes.
I'm trying to delay you until you actually...
I know, I've lost it somewhere in this, because there's so many ads on this website. I'm going to say this, Newsweek, your website sucks.
Newsweek? And that's probably going to get us demonetized, just saying that word.
Newsweek sucks?
Newsweek sucks. Newsweek sucks. But regardless of what he did.
Yeah, either way, it was a long list of things.
Yeah. Quick question, is irregardless a word?
No. Regardless.
Okay, so have you heard people say irregardless?
I mean, I guess technically it could be the inverse of regardless, but it's really redundant to say that because you either have regards or you don't.
Right.
Irregardless would be saying you still have regards.
So how would you say you don't have, or how would you say the past tense of regardless?
The past tense?
Okay, so or I guess, damn, not even the past tense.
Yeah.
How would you say the opposite of regardless, I guess? You get what I'm trying... If
regards. You have regards.
Or irregarding. So instead of saying irregard, like, okay, regardless of the fact he did this.
You could say irregarding.
Irregarding, okay.
Yes.
All right, that makes sense.
Because that would mean the same thing as regardless.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So what are your thoughts about this guy in Florida, man? My thing is, what is it? Why the baby clothes, bro? You have to be a sick individual.
Yes, and that brings us to our question.
Drugs or mental illness?
I'm going with both because of his mugshot.
God, do I have to post it on screen now?
Yeah.
All right, God. This is going to be on screen.
So, the same thing as the last one we brought up, the last Florida story. If you look at the mugshot, you have to suspect some kind of...
Suspect or ispect?
Suspect.
Okay.
Did I say ispect?
Well, no, but...
Expect.
Expect. Wouldn't that be the right word? Or suspect?
Yeah. I mean, you're either suspicious or you're expecting something.
Okay, but go ahead. Sorry.
But looking at his mugshot, do you think there's an M word involved?
No, I don't.
You don't?
No, not with him. I don't.
Not even in the past?
I mean, of course, maybe he's done a toot here in the past.
I'm looking at his eyes. I think he's mentally ill.
See. Oh, okay. Eyes. You know, Smokey, you have a good point on a lot of these serial killers and these people with sadistic behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Tell the people what you see in their eyes.
Well, typically, a lot of head trauma patients will actually, the eyes will be wide open, and drugs can also cause this too. Certain drug usage, where the eyes are open far enough to where you can see the whites above your pupils.
Wow.
Because a normal person looking at you, you won't see the whites above their pupils.
Do I have that?
No.
Okay. I was hoping you're looking at me like, oh, crap.
Am I mentally ill?
I mean, we all have a form of mental illness.
Yeah, I mean, technically, yeah. If you were to break it down, everybody does have some form of mental illness.
You want to throw yours out? I'll throw mine out. I have anxiety. That's a mental illness. Do you have one?
I mean, yeah, there's probably a few.
What do you think the most prevalent one is?
I think anxiety is one of them.
Anxiety.
Yeah.
I will say you do a great job of handling that.
I do. I have taught myself over the years to control that extensively.
Interesting.
But yeah, I feel anxiety. I can control it.
How do you control your anxiety?
It's really comes natural to me now, but it's a method of just years of trying not to show it. Basically, it's almost like exposure therapy.
So just basically, you feel anxiety, but just do it. You'll be okay. Right?
Yeah, exactly. It's what people who are typically brave, they all do the same thing. You know, you don't actually not feel fear when you're brave. It's just how you handle your fear makes you brave or not. I
think I could agree with that. That goes down to the basic human instinct, fight or flight.
Fight or flight, yeah. You know, some people, like, there's a bump in the night. Some people are going to be like, oh my God, and just be frozen.
Or some people are going to run upstairs, go under their bed, and grab that sawed-off double-barrel shotgun and say, where you at?
Yeah, I'm one of those people.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and it actually, sometimes it can be detrimental too, because sometimes I won't even be armed, you know, and just run into a situation and be like, what is that?
I agree. Well,
I would think I was taught at a young age to face your fears, you know. No matter how anxious or nervous you might be, you if you face it, the outcome tends to be better than running from it.
Right. Do you remember we had an episode with the German trash talkers about our biggest fears? Mm-hmm. You remember what mine was?
It wasn't drowning.
No, it's an animal.
Rats.
I hate rats.
Yes.
And if I recall, yours was snakes.
Mm-hmm. That's one of them. Yes.
True story, guys. True story. And this is, I don't know if you played it off to where you could have won a Grammy or Emmy or whatever, an Oscar for this, but we were downstairs, looked out my back window, and if Smokey says he's quote unquote afraid of snakes, there's this big black, maybe 2-foot snake. He's like, "Hey, Hollywood, look, there's a snake." That doesn't sound like somebody who's afraid of snakes.
Oh, I am. You know what? This actually brings up. You remember Jake the Snake Roberts?
Of course.
How he would always carry the snake to the ring with him. He said he was deathly afraid of snakes.
Terrified.
Yes.
Petrified.
Yes. But yet he faced that fear, and even to this day, he says he's still scared of snakes, but he will. He's just good at handling that fear.
Well, his snake, Damien, which, if y'all don't know, is a pseudonym for the name Lucifer.
Mm-hmm. And actually, the snake that he used the most recently was named Lucifer.
Wow. But I think the reason we're going to get off the Florida story, but we got into this talking about the fight or flight, this guy breaking into this lady's house and trying on baby clothes and doing all these lewd acts. But I think the reason he was not afraid of Damien and Lucifer is because he knew it was deveined.
Yes.
Is that the proper word for something?
No,
defanged.
Well, yeah, they still had fangs, but they would remove the venom glands.
I think it's deveined.
No, I think it's devenomized. There's probably a technical term for it.
Right. We're trash talkers,
Yeah,
man. We're
who
trash
cares?
talkers. Exactly.
Devein that mug.
Anything else for this old WTF?
No, that one went deep. We're done with that one.
All right. Y'all, let me tell y'all what's going on in the great state of Georgia. This actually didn't happen in Georgia, but it involved a man from Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Georgia man filled fake prescriptions in Alabama. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Just let me read the story.
Not the first time that's happened.
Not the second, third, fourth, fifth, 100th. Of course not.
Yeah.
Authorities in Alabama say a Georgia man attempting to fill a forged prescription was arrested with more than 1,600 doses of codeine cough syrup.
Wow.
Syrup.
He was handling the scissors.
Screwed and chopped on him. A statement from Hartsville Police says 27-year-old James Bloodworth III from Decatur, Georgia, was arrested Saturday and charged with possession of a controlled substance. The statement says Bloodworth was attempting to fill a phony prescription before he fled from police in a vehicle. It says Bloodworth lost control of the car and flipped it over, but continued to flee on foot before police arrested him. Police say the codeine cough syrup was purchased from 4 pharmacies. They also found multiple forged and blank prescriptions. It also says that the statement has more charges that may be filed. It's unclear whether Bloodworth has an attorney. Now, okay. What do you think about? I'm going to give you my take on this, but I want to hear your side first.
Well, obviously, he had an operation going. This wasn't no one-time incident.
When you say operation, you mean?
I mean, he had a network. I mean, I don't know that he had multiple people filling these scripts for him, but obviously he had people buying these in bulk for him to want to attain that much. This is not just, hey, I'm going to go fill this script and sell it to the people around the hood.
Okay. Well, all right. Here's my take on it. Guys, go back to the very first Trash Talk episode. The very first one.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the drug I used before marijuana. And I don't know if Smokey partake back in the day.
Of what?
Syrup.
No, not really. No.
Okay, that was my first drug I ever did. But in listening to this particular police report, okay, this guy was caught with 1,600 doses of codeine cough syrup.
Yeah.
Rap music. Okay, he's from Decatur, Georgia, which is the east side, right?
Uh-huh.
All right. What's the number one drug you think is talked about in rap music today?
Lean.
Lean. For the people who out there who don't know, what is lean?
It's a mixture of codeine and people make it different ways. Codeine. Some people mix it with gin.
Really?
Yeah. Some people just mix it straight with Sprite and Jolly Ranchers. And,
That's a first. I've never heard that one.
yeah, I remember people mixing it with gin back in the days. Yeah.
Hmm.
But yeah, I imagine that's even worse. But
Yeah, I don't think that'll give you the effect that you're looking for. But hey, teach its own.
yeah. But yeah, most people just mix the codeine cough syrup with Sprite and Jolly Ranchers.
Right. And for this is what I'm thinking. This guy might being from Decatur, Georgia, there's a lot of first of all, everybody know Atlanta is the mecca of hip hop music today.
Mm-hmm.
So you getting 1,600 doses, you're not going to go to a pharmacy in Decatur or Atlanta or Jonesboro or Clayton County or Conyers or Covington. You're not going to do that,
You got to go to a podunk town.
which is Alabama.
Yeah.
So what this guy does is I really hate to bring my past into this, guys, but when I was sipping drink, a pint was about $320.
Really?
Now,
Wow.
maybe 380. Actually, it was 380.
Is bank.
380 for a pint. You guys don't know that's 16 ounces of drink.
Mm-hmm.
This guy has 1,600 doses. So let's say he had about, let's say 1,000 pints.
Mm-hmm.
A pint now goes for $7,000. A
Really?
pint, yes.
Jesus Christ, man! If you got a script, you're probably paying like $20 for
20
that.
bucks. Well, but that's the thing. I don't think pharmacies are giving out pints to
Yeah, I mean those little
four. You'll either get
round
a
bottles they give you.
yeah, you'll get a 2, a 4, or an 8.
Yeah.
That's usually what you'll get. But yeah, I think this guy had, like you said, an operation. He had it to where he had so many people. He probably was the lean man.
Yeah,
And was
obviously, yeah.
Has to be. And like, listen, bro, we need some more. We need some more. He's probably got 17 people saying, look, I got this rapper coming in, this rapper coming in, this country singer coming in, this pop singer coming in,
Yeah.
and they all want a pint.
Yeah,
So he needs to go get it.
yeah.
He forges a check, writes a fake prescription, which I think is the stupidest thing.
It
bro.
is.
It's the stupidest thing.
It's amazing to me that he got away with achieving that much before he got caught.
I think well, maybe not. I was gonna say I think the pharmacy. Okay, if you would think in 2019, if you give someone a fake prescription, you forge the doctor's name, you would. Doesn't there have to be some kind of protocol to where they call?
Check up with the doctor. That's usually how it works these days.
Is it?
Yeah, back in the day, but nowadays, once a doctor writes a script, it goes into a data bank.
Right. The DEA, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I mean that's.
Well, I know that for a fact with narcotics, and this is a narcotic.
Codeine is a narcotic. Yes.
Yeah. So the fact that I would think that the pharmacy would be like, yeah, okay, thanks for the script. Just go ahead, have a seat. We'll let you know when it's ready.
Yeah, and then they check with the database and see if it's a legit script. How did he get away with fake ones?
That's my thing. I'm thinking, okay, if they're making him sit and wait, and they're checking, first of all, that much. What doctor gives you 1,600 doses of drink?
Well, I think he had multiple scripts that he was filling at various locations,
Right.
You know what it could be? He could have actually had someone who had the ability to put it into the database somehow.
And got away with it.
Yeah.
Well, then that begs the question, what put the police on his tail? And what pharmacy holds that much drink?
Well, I think he went to multiple locations. I don't think
That's
he
right,
got it
I'm
all at
sorry.
once. But it could be that he went to one where the doctor actually checked up on his history, or the pharmacist actually checked up on his history and found out how many of these he's been getting filled throughout in various locations.
Mm-hmm.
And then they alerted the DEA of that. And
They got on him.
yeah, they knew where he was going to be.
Wow.
It said Hartsfield, so he was at the airport.
I want to say this is Hartsfield, Alabama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I pronounced it wrong, guys. Excuse me for my mispronunciation.
I do that all the time. Heard rest.
Hartselle?
Hartselle?
Hartselle, Alabama?
I've heard of that.
Hartselle. Hart, S-E-L-L-E.
Hartselle.
Hartselle.
I'm pretty sure I've heard of that.
Which one? Hartselle or Hartselle?
I'd say Hartselle.
Hartselle, okay. But yeah, this guy did this, and only in not as bad as Florida.
No, well, yeah.
Because
a little less malicious than our Florida story.
I would say that this guy was aiming for money, so
yeah, And this is a case where the only victims are the people harming themselves.
Exactly.
So, but he's gonna do a lot of time for it. Either way.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you. Smoke Dog.
What up?
Anything else for the OMG WTF segments off anything?
That's it for today.
Y'all, we gotta get into our next segment.
Explain this.
Did you send me a picture, Smokey?
I did. Let me pull it up as well.
Oh my God. Okay. First of all, do you have a backstory?
I don't have a backstory on this one. It was another one of those lists of crazy mugshots.
I feel like I know this guy.
Do you?
I feel like I know this dude. I'm being for real. He looks like he tried out for the movie Coneheads. But your cone is a little too small.
He wasn't quite tall enough.
Then he looks like a pro wrestler.
Yeah. He would have been a great pro wrestler back in the 60s or something.
What would his name be?
Bullet Head.
Oh, that is a great name. Bullet Head or
Bullet Head Bill.
Bullet Head Bill off in this thing. He seems very happy to be locked up at the moment.
Yeah, it's not bothering him one bit. It doesn't look
not
like
at all. So, this isn't one of your more outrageous ones.
No, it's not. Because there was I found bunches of them that, are bordering on circus sideshow attractions. But
Titty head.
Yeah, we'll get into that one on the next one. But, I figured we would keep it a little more realistic on this one.
Right.
See what you think this guy did to get arrested.
All right, you can't, I wouldn't say drunken, I wouldn't say drugs. I mean, this guy has the face of, hey, yeah, I did it, I'll be out in about 48 hours, I tell you what. What did Bullet Bill do?
Bullet Bill. I wish I knew.
What Bullet Bill do, Smoke?
I think he was headbutting people.
Ooh, that boy was giving shotgun shell headbutts on them. Bow, bow, bow.
He was spearing random bystanders.
This guy, he literally looks like a professional wrestler that was a beast in like the 70s, early 80s, and now the steroids are wearing off.
Yep.
And you've got Bullet.
It could be a result of some HGH.
What is HGH?
Human growth hormone. Bodybuilders and wrestlers alike, anyone who's looking to get in shape, professional athletes, once they hit a certain age, your body stops producing human growth hormone.
That's a naturally producing supplement in your body?
Here's a fun way of explaining it. You remember Andre the Giant, right?
Of course.
Yes, one of the most iconic people in American history. And he was actually French, as a matter of fact. But,
did you just ask me if I remembered Andre the Giant?
I bet there's some people out there that don't remember Andre the Giant. But he actually had a tumor on his pituitary gland that caused him to emit abnormal amounts of human growth hormone all throughout his childhood and puberty. And that's how he ended up being 7'5" and, 500 pounds. And he was a legitimate giant. That happens to a lot of the Big Show.
He has that too?
He had it. He was cured. Now, the problem with that tumor is once your pituitary gland keeps producing this HGH over time, your body doesn't start growing and your organs enlarge themselves. Everything grows.
Where is your pituitary gland located?
I want to say it's at the base of the brain.
Okay, so we're in the right area. I thought it was
Yeah.
definitely your head.
Uh-huh.
I wonder if that has any ties with elephantitis.
I mean, I imagine it. I don't know that HGH causes elephantitis. I think that's just a symptom of cells reproducing themselves at an abnormal rate.
Right.
But
It's interesting. Just to get back on Bullet Bill here, his head was full of HGH.
But see, that's the thing. That's where I was going with it. Yeah, and that's actually at the base of the brain, at directly in the middle, at the base where the brainstem connects right into the brain.
So Big Show and Andre the Giant had
many of the giants in the past. That's why that HGH never stops producing, and they die at such an early age, because everything keeps growing until they die.
So you said the Big
It's
Show
called acromegalia.
acromegalia.
Yes.
Say that 5 times.
Acromegalia, 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 acromegalia.
Hey, so you said the Big Show was cured,
He was.
or did he?
More recent years, they have figured out ways to remove the tumor to stop the HGH.
By surgery?
Yes.
So did he get surgery, or was he cured?
That brings up the point. I want to say it was a surgery, but it's in the brain.
That's brain surgery, bro.
Yeah.
That's tough.
But I mean, how else do you remove a tumor? I don't think there's any medicine you could give, right?
I mean, nowadays, bro, there's medicine for anything.
Yeah, maybe there is.
That's a good question. How would you remove a tumor out the brain? That would mean you would have to. I mean, people get brain cancer.
Yeah, brain surgery is definitely possible.
Does that mean they cut your skull open?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering. I think they probably go in through like a hole in the neck. I mean, nowadays, they got these little tiny scopes. You can just cut a little tiny hole and dig right up in there.
All right. I don't like stuff like that, y'all. I'm sorry. I just don't like anything like that. Anything else about Bullet Bill?
Bullet Bill. I don't. Bullet Bill.
What do you think? What is his charge?
I think public drunkenness. You said he doesn't look like he's been drinking, but
he looks like he just rock bottom for
if
people.
you got a head like that, wouldn't you get drunk every day?
Every day.
Every day.
Every day. He looks like he put people in figure fours, clotheslines, and rock bottoms.
His finishing move had to be the headbutt.
Oh, 100%. But what would he call it? What would it be called? The bullet butt.
Yeah, the bullet butt.
Hell yeah. Or heck yeah. Awesome. Anything else for old Bullet Bill Smoke?
That's it, man. That's it.
Awesome. Guys, that finishes up our segment.
Smeglia.
Our
smegma.
You know what smegma is?
Yes.
All right,
I don't
let's
want to
stop.
talk about it.
That finishes up our segment of the Explain This Now Smoke Dog.
What up?
Let's get into some good old fashioned trash talk. Booyah!
What'd it do?
Been banging screws since '92.
Boom!
Bow!
Bees out. Skippity boop bop bop.
Bees. Go watch.
Shout out to Bees out.
Bees out. Boobity boop. Hey, his name was Skis out. Y'all, excuse me for a second. Smokey, let people know what we're talking about. I gotta take a quick pee real quick.
All right. What am I explaining? Bees out or
no? What the?
If you don't know, you can go back and look. It was one of the funny mugshots, which is actually a normal looking dude that happened to have a really weird name, and his name was Beezow Skippity Doo Doo Bop Bop. It's something to that effect. Yeah, but it was really funny, and apparently that dude had a knack for getting arrested over and over again. And with a name like that, I mean, obviously he changed his name to be such, and apparently he had a flair for the dramatic, and it landed him in jail multiple times. But today, guys, we are getting into global warming, better known as climate change. And this is a sensitive topic, obviously, because political sides fight over this topic all the time. Because on one hand, you have unabashed capitalism, represented by the conservatives, as Hollywood walks back in the room and knocks over everything with him. Um, and then on the other hand, you have liberal progressives who main goal wants, their goals are to save the environment, or so they publicly state. So they are on the opposite sides, and this subject of climate change becomes a point of contention amongst the two, whereas the people representing capitalism, the conservatives or Republicans, claim that it doesn't actually exist. That the Earth actually goes through a cycle of warming and cooling throughout time. Because if you go back far enough, when I want to say it was the 70s when people started talking about climate change, 70s, 80s, somewhere in there, when the topic originally came up. During that time, the scientists were warning the entire world that we are headed for an ice age. And they were saying our Earth goes into an ice age about every 10,000 years, as the studies have showed, where they'll go into the ice and drill down into the core, or even, soil samples. And they use their scientific process to figure out that the Earth goes into an ice age around every 10,000 years. Now it's been 12,000 years since the last one.
So we're overdue.
We were overdue for an ice age. So scientists were proclaiming that we're about to hit an ice age, guys. But then there was this subset of scientists who were opposing this theory, saying there's a different cause. There's a different scenario that is popping up. And we're not actually headed for an ice age. We're headed for global warming.
What's the difference, though?
Between the ice age and global warming?
Okay. No, the difference between climate change and global warming. Is there a difference?
Well, okay. How did it get changed along the way somewhere? Is because, man, this is a really deep definition that I'll have to get into, but, so global warming was the thing. Let's just go from the start. Global warming was the thing that they were calling it.
Right.
Because they were saying these greenhouse gases that we emit through pollution, combustion of cars, anything. These greenhouse gases that we are producing are going up into our atmosphere.
And thinning out the ozone layer?
No, that was actually the chlorofluorocarbons that were... in the 70s, this is a whole nother topic, but
speak, brother.
In the 70s, people freaked out, like 79 or whatever it was, late 70s, early 80s. People were freaking out, saying we're eating a hole in the ozone, right? You remember that?
I do.
When we were kids, they would tell us that.
Well, I wasn't a kid in the 70s, and neither were you.
No,
go ahead.
I wasn't even born, but they still taught us that up through the 90s, that there's a hole in the ozone. And it's getting bigger.
I do remember
and
that.
These aerosol cans are the culprit.
I do remember that.
Yes, and they said that it was the chlorofluorocarbons in the aerosols that was actually eating a hole in the ozone.
Do you think that was just propaganda to get people to stop using aluminum cans?
Well, it's not necessarily aluminum cans. It was the aerosol in the cans.
Right, but when you discard an aerosol can, where does that can go? A lot of people just throw them in oceans, which could have been...
Or landfills. That's another thing that I wonder, too. Everybody has aluminum cans that they drink out of or whatever, and just certain metal. Like, you throw metal in the trash all the time. You have tin cans. Eventually, the Earth will eventually run out of sources of metal, right? Or giant bulk sources, because they're mined all the time, and we keep creating new. I mean, there's always recycling.
That's what I was about to say.
But pieces of it gets thrown into a landfill and buried separately. There's never going to be a time where we go back and recover bulk.
100% of it.
Yes, exactly. Right. So over time, over thousands of years, we could eventually run out of metal as well, because of this separating the metals down into products and discarding them throughout the earth
Right.
and landfills and things like that.
That's an interesting fact or statement that you brought up. Before I get into that, earlier you said in the 70s, they said it was going to be an ice age.
Yes, they were thinking that we were headed for an ice age, but the different subset of scientists were studying the effects of CO2 and methane and nitrous oxide that we were creating through industrialization, basically.
Now, this might be the conspiracy mind in me. The 70s, before Google, before social media, in the Bible, we had, during the 70s, you would say America was predominantly Christian. Would you say that?
Yeah, I think it still is, actually.
Okay. So, in the Bible, it says the world ended the first time by what?
Oh, flood.
I thought it was fire.
No, first time was flood.
You're right.
But it says the next time the world will be destroyed will be through
Okay,
fire
you're
and
right.
brimstone.
Oh, wow. So I had it backwards. Guys, excuse me, because I thought the first time was through fire and brimstone.
No,
And
it was a flood.
okay, well, in my head, I thought, well, now the glaciers are melting, so now the Bible is coming true. Now everyone's going to be flooded out.
Which that could be what happened in the past. Let's say the whole flood story is real. The world was coming out of an ice age at that time.
Right.
And these glaciers that were covering so much of the earth started melting and flooding a lot of the lands.
That begs a good question. So the first time was ended in a flood. Would you say, in your opinion, in Larry Smokey Ramirez Cowan's opinion, would you say global warming is real? Yes or no?
I really can't say. I think there probably is some truth to us emitting these greenhouse gases. Those 3 different gases are what's causing it. But I don't know that it's to an effect that we're actually going to end the earth through it. Because I think even if, we are, and if it's at such a slow rate that the earth actually adapts over time.
So you think the earth can adapt to our degrading of its ozone layer?
Yeah, well, it's not necessarily just the ozone, because we found out over time that there's not actually this giant hole being ripped in the ozone layer.
That was all propaganda, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it was fake.
I mean, they may have actually thought it was real at the time, and then new discoveries,
New discoveries what?
proved it wrong. We stopped using chlorofluorocarbons anyway because of that, and they're not in use anymore.
What? Give me an example of that.
Hairspray had chlorofluorocarbons. Anything that was aerosol, they would use the molecules chlorofluorocarbons to actually make the aerosol to propel anything out of these spray cans.
So how are aerosol cans used now? Like if my girlfriend comes in and she wants to put all this spritz inside of her hair.
Yeah, they're safe now.
But
according to what they were talking about in the 80s,
right?
None of these cans contain the CFCs anymore.
Or does it?
Well, I mean, I guess you could debate that.
Again, could be the conspiracy mind in me. Let's take the marijuana industry for an example. This is proven, guys, that one of the main reasons marijuana was outlawed was because of a guy who owned 90% of the paper industry.
Yeah.
And
William Randolph Hearst.
Thank you for bringing that name up. And he saw a plant that was in abundance, and it could be grown just about anywhere on Earth.
And it could kill off his crop or at least devalue his wood crop.
Right, which in turn makes paper. Hemp, which comes from the marijuana plant, is not only made for paper, but string and fire. It's such a valuable resource.
Yes.
So he put out, and I think he actually had something to do with Reefer Madness.
Yes, he did.
So
His campaigns actually resulted in reefer madness.
right.
Yes.
So could this be a result of something similar? Could this be? I'm afraid that the marijuana is going to take over my billion-dollar industry. So
Yeah.
let's say the aerosols are.
Yeah. It definitely could be. We talked about this on one of the episodes with the Germans that um what was I gonna say?
I love how you refer to them as the Germans.
I said that and then lost my train of thought.
Aerosol,
Oh, how
marijuana.
all the big studies that come out are all funded by major industries.
Right, government what's the word?
Subsidiaries?
Subsidiaries.
Not necessarily government subsidiaries, but
Or some kind
the
of
industries themselves will fund studies that work in their favor.
when you say industry,
Yeah.
what is industry?
Any industry, any big company is part of an industry.
Okay, you said company. Is it true? We're gonna get back to the global warming, but is it true that a .com, anything that Newsweek.com, Fox.com, that's company, right? Company.
Commercial.
Okay, which makes money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So .gov, government.
Yeah.
EDU, education.
Yeah. I don't think they're as strict on who buys those domains these days, but yes, that was the original
I disagree.
thought.
I disagree.
Why?
Try to open a website that says trashtalkers.gov.
Yeah, maybe government. You probably do have to have some kind of government organization to actually open a government, but I could open trashtalkers.edu probably with no problem.
I'm sure you could. So why is it that the government, the GOV, is harder to open than the EDU? Why is
Because I
that?
think they want to stick to that domain being strictly government.
That makes me a little weird because we're talking about the aerosols and we're talking about these things that we're putting out into the atmosphere, into the ozone layer, into the all these things that we're polluting our planet with.
Mm-hmm.
Could it be that the reason, maybe it's just a myth, maybe it's just, don't buy these aerosol cans, buy these cans.
Mm-hmm.
Don't buy this, buy this, because it could be controlled by a company or an government or an
Oh, it definitely
organization.
can. That's been skewed many times throughout history that, a certain industry will skew the public's opinion through pieces like that, through an inconvenient truth or through Fahrenheit 911 or something like that.
Ooh.
Um,
You ever read that book?
Fahrenheit 911. I saw the movie.
I'm not one of those people who say the books are greater than the movies, but that was a great book and movie.
So pretentious.
Yeah, for real. All right, but let's get back to the global warming. All right.
Mm-hmm.
We can admit right now, what's today's date?
This is October 7th.
Guys, the tattoo is right here on my arm. My mom's birthday, Mama I Love You, was yesterday, and my ex-girlfriend, her birthday's today. So I remember these dates, October 6th and October 7th. If I'm not mistaken, our first podcast we did was done in October.
Yeah, I think so. Or was it October or November?
Maybe late October, early November.
Yeah, I think so.
Do you remember where we did our first podcast?
Right here.
Where at right here? Where were we? In my house.
Right here in the studio.
Our first podcast, where were we?
No, we were right here for the first one.
Were we not downstairs?
That was the second one.
Okay, this.
Because the first one had no video. The first one we had
You're right.
with video was downstairs.
My dog's fault. Okay, the second one, because we had to give you guys some visualization.
Yes.
Where was the second one held?
In front of the fireplace.
It was cold, right?
Yes.
So now, the exact same time of year, during the exact fall season,
Mm-hmm.
it's 1,700 degrees outside.
Yeah. That is how they switched from global warming to climate change, because they were seeing that it wasn't just a continuous warming. It was also creating, remember 2014, the polar vortex?
No.
You don't remember when we had those giant freezes and Atlanta was a freaking ghost town because everything iced over?
Yeah, but you're saying polar. Atlanta's. There's a difference between.
No, that's what they called the weather cycle that happened that year, the polar vortex.
Only in Atlanta.
No, it happened throughout most of the eastern part of North America.
No, that's not the same thing, though. Because there's a difference between global warming and regional warming. Just because the southeastern part of America, which is a small sect of the world, that doesn't mean the globe is...
No, but... Well, that's just it. It was global warming, and they switched it to climate change. Because they're saying that the effects of these gases are actually causing weather patterns to be off completely in either direction. Sometimes it can cause freezing. It can cause a mini ice age. It can cause extreme heat.
Right.
They're saying it can go in either direction, so they stopped calling it global warming and switched to climate change.
Right. I look at it like, okay, I'm not sure how it works, but guys, if you could look at me on screen here. Okay, let's say the Earth spins this way, right? Now, as it's spinning this way, it's also spinning this way, which makes, I guess, the seasons work because the sun isn't closer to the Earth, like...
And, well, actually, the distance the sun is from the Earth has little to do with our weather. Little to do with the heat on Earth. Because,
it could be a sunny day out and there still be snow.
Yeah. And there is the slight tilt of the Earth, and that being somewhat closer to the sun, which can actually cause it to be a little hotter. And the bottom part being farther away on the tilt cause it to be colder. And when you switch to the other side, the bottom part is closer to the sun. And, that's why you go through 4 seasons throughout the cycle.
Yeah.
But you can take the moon, which... All right, let's leave your asinine...
I love this.
Let's leave your asinine theories out of this. But the moon stays fixed in one position. And if the sun is beating on it at all times, it can reach extreme heat. Whereas the other side, the dark side of the moon, reaches extreme cold. And it's not that much farther away or closer to the sun than we are.
If the moon stays in a fixed position, does that mean it's always a certain range of temperature on the light side of the moon?
Yes, relative to where it's at. God. Because if it's spinning around the Earth, it's going to be farther away from the sun on this side.
I got you.
Than it would be on this side.
All right. Well, I'm sorry to interrupt, but one of the points I was trying to make is our second podcast we did it in front of, it was so cold outside, Smokey. We had the fireplace running.
Yeah.
We both had on long sleeve. I think I had on a long sleeve. You might have came in with the jacket and I had a short sleeve on. But
I think that was early November, yeah.
I vividly remember Christmas Day, 75 degrees.
Yeah.
So we went from 3 weeks from being extremely cold to being a nice, beautiful spring day within 3-4 weeks?
Yeah.
How does that happen, man?
Well, I don't know what exactly you're getting at, but I guess we can leave the extreme nerdiness out of there. And I'm not going to explain, the whole atmosphere and how UV rays come through some of the atmosphere, bounce off the Earth, and get trapped in by the atmosphere and these greenhouse gases.
You thought I was taking you down a flat Earth hole, didn't you?
Well, yeah, when I brought up the moon, that's what you were thinking. When you're like, oh.
I love my dog.
But let me ask you this.
Yes.
Do you think global warming or climate change is real?
Yes.
You do?
Yes.
I expected you to say no.
I understand.
Because you like to believe that everything is a conspiracy.
No, guys, I promise y'all, it may not seem like it. I'm very skeptical on things, but I'm coming around. I'm coming around, Smokey. And you guys, again, look at me on camera. I'm coming around.
Around the Earth.
I'm coming around. And just because there's more things to point towards the obvious than to the skepticism, But back to the global warming, I just find it a little... Okay, there is NASA imagery. Again, you can take this as truth. You can take this as, propaganda. But there is NASA imagery where you can go on there and see the past 50 years of them taking pictures every day from the polar ice caps. So let's say 1940, the polar ice caps are huge, and then the summertime they get small.
Yes.
1941, big. 41, summer, small. 42, big. It keeps going open, small.
But over the years, they're actually getting smaller overall.
Yeah, so
I've heard like conservative explanations that they're getting smaller in size, but they're actually building up deeper, which makes. I mean, I don't really know. Does it really make sense?
It really doesn't, because if the North Pole and the South Pole completely melted, that would change sea level in a lot of places, right?
By 60 to 80 feet.
By 60 to 80 feet.
So if you got like New York that's on the coast, it'd be underwater.
What about Miami, Florida? What about Hawaii?
New Orleans is gone.
So why isn't it gone now?
Well, it hasn't reached a point to where it's rose that much. They say, you ever heard the phrase 6 degrees to doomsday or whatever?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, whatever they call it. They say since 1890, I think, that the temperature has rose 1.7 degrees.
Right.
And we're making it increase faster
because of our pollution.
Yes, the more pollution, the faster it's going to raise.
Is it really?
And if we hit 6 degrees, we lose the polar ice caps.
And what happens when we lose the polar ice caps? Everything floods, right?
Most of it, yeah. There'll still be highlands, but
let's take.
And it's going to be hot as hell.
Dude, it's October, the middle of October, and it is 85 degrees outside.
Yeah, and it was 100 degrees last Friday.
Man, I wish we could Google what was the temperature of this exact same day last year. Or the year before that. I wish we could do that.
See, I don't think that year to year is going to be a noticeable difference.
But see, I disagree.
But if you go 100 years, you're going to have a noticeable difference.
I disagree, Smokey. This day, last year, it was freezing, bro. We were downstairs in front of a fireplace.
Yeah, but then next year it could be freezing again.
So so the world rotates 24 hours on its axis and then goes around the sun once every year. So that means within 1 year it dramatically changed that much to the point where it made it from 80
and weather is not only caused by your position to the sun, There's also like that polar vortex we were talking about, whereas the currents moving around the earth, the air masses moving, actually dipped up and pulled the cold air from the North Pole down into America, and it froze. We were getting temperatures on a regular basis throughout that winter that were higher than Anchorage, Alaska.
Really? In Georgia?
On average, that winter was colder here in Atlanta than in Anchorage, Alaska.
I can't argue with that because I definitely remember.
Yeah, it was extremely cold that year.
Do you remember? I'm sure your grandparents or your parents or friends, families, uncles, aunts, aunties. When it's cold, ducks fly where?
No, when it's cold, they fly south.
When it's hot, ducks fly
north.
Go outside. There are ducks outside of my house.
Oh yeah, they hang out all year round now.
That doesn't seem it just seems...
We see a lot of Canadian geese here, but the weird thing is we see Canadian geese during the summertime, which is really weird.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't know. Have you ever heard? Do you know Candace Owens?
Not right offhand.
You know her. You seen the and I know you for a fact.
Oh yeah, I know who that is. Yeah, she's the Republican spokesperson.
Right.
Yeah.
Black lady, guys. Google Candace Owens. She's a beautiful black lady.
Part of the Trump administration.
Yeah, she supports Trump 100%.
Yeah.
And there's a great interview with Killer Mike, T.I., and other people, and Candace Owens and a few other people on the panel where Killer Mike killed it. Killer Mike for president 2020.
Please. If he ran for president, I would vote for him. I'd find a way to vote twice.
Right. But she was on the Joe Rogan podcast and said she doesn't believe in climate change.
No, they don't, because it's a political tool for them.
But this is something Joe Rogan made a good point on. Why even believe that? Why have that belief? I mean, think about that. He said
Because it's a political weapon.
But the key word here is belief. Why even believe something like that?
Why believe it's not real?
Yeah, why believe
Because
that?
they want to believe. When the left are, hippie-ish in a way, when the left are using the left hate capitalism, right? And I'm not sitting here making a statement either way, but if the left hates capitalism, one tool they can use to shut down capitalism is global warming.
Why?
Because they can use it to control industries. Like, if you can't burn your coal, I got control over your industry. Now, if you want to be a Republican or a conservative and fight that, you go, well, global warming's not real, so stop coming after our industries.
So do the Democrats believe that global warming is a real thing?
Yeah.
Now it's starting to seem kind of like WWE to me.
Yeah.
I'm not lying. Because would you agree that the Republicans are left or right?
Republicans are right.
Okay, so would you agree that the right side is more about financial earnings and would you
capitalism?
Capitalism.
Yes. Yeah.
Now, would you believe that the left is more for the people?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does it benefit for the right to say global warming is not real? Yes, you could say, oh, well,
because if they say it's not real,
it takes away from their companies.
Well, if they say it's not real, then their companies can do whatever they want. They're like, we can burn whatever we want because that's not even a real thing.
Right.
Fake news.
So, you being a libertarian, is the world getting hotter?
I think so. But I can't tell you whether man-made, and I think
that's the question.
Yeah, I do think that we've probably added to it.
Do you really believe that, Smokey? Do you really believe that black motor, the black smoke coming out of all these people? Think about LA. Think about Atlanta. Think about New York. Think about Texas.
Yeah.
Seattle. Think about all these major cities.
You can definitely see smog above those cities.
But does that deplete the ozone layer?
No, I don't think it's depleting the ozone. I think it's actually causing the greenhouse effect. When these UV rays come in from the sun, they go through this, and then they bounce off the earth and get stuck under that layer of smog, and it keeps bouncing back, and the UV rays are bouncing back and forth. That's what makes it hotter.
I would think that'd make it colder.
No, it makes it hotter because UV rays are hot.
Okay, so the smog is going up. The sun is putting in UV rays,
yes.
And the smog is bouncing the UV rays off.
Once the ones that get through, it is bouncing some of it off, and that's what our ozone does, and that's why it's not extremely hot on Earth, because our ozone layer protects a lot of those UV rays. Like, it's just this big blanket around the Earth. It protects a lot of those UV rays from getting in. Say, this is the Earth, here's the ozone layer, it bounces off, sends it back out into space. But the ones that do get through
are extremely
they're
hot.
Trapped in here because of the layers of smog, for lack of a better term, and they're just bouncing off the earth in the smog back and forth
like a ping pong ball.
Yes, and that's the greenhouse effect. Like, if you have a greenhouse, you got that light. The light comes through there and gets trapped inside and makes it really hot.
Now, here's my argument for that. Yes, that makes sense. Now, let's say Atlanta, let's say the major cities in the United States. Let's say what do you call it? The smog? Okay, the smog is coming out, and some rays are coming through, and it's bouncing off.
Yes.
It's proven that the polar ice caps are melting.
Yeah.
There aren't hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of cars in the North Pole and the South Pole. So why are the polar ice caps melting if there are not millions of cars there? I can understand the United States. I can understand these populated cities, but why are polar ice caps melting if there aren't?
Because once this smog goes up, it eventually spreads its way around the whole Earth.
You know what I'm about to say?
Don't say BS.
No, I'm not.
Okay. What?
How do you know that?
I mean, it's just theory. Oh well, I mean they've tracked it. You know, they have. I mean, I'm not a freaking ozone
Right.
specialist. I'm not a scientist studying our atmosphere.
I think they're
But
called
they can take.
meteorologists.
Oh,
I'm not a scientist that studies our ozone layer.
well, that's what they do, right?
You're right.
Okay, so what they do is they take samples of the ozone layer over the polar regions, and they test it, and they're like, "Hey, we're getting a lot of CO2 here that didn't used to be here. So where would that be coming from? CO2, methane, and nitrous oxide.
Right.
This is all products of industrialization.
Or could it just be a agenda from the left that says, say this, make them buy Teslas?
See, that's what it is. I believe that it is happening to a certain effect, and I believe that the left is making it sound worse than it actually is.
Right.
Because they want to push their agenda, and I believe that the right is downplaying it way too much. Because I think we are having some effect. I don't think it's as bad as the left is saying. I don't think it's as good as the right is saying.
Okay. This is one more question I have to ask, and maybe you can clarify this for me. If we have all these cars in these metropolitan cities, and it's getting hotter in these cities because of what you just said, the smog bouncing off.
Yes.
And the polar ice caps are melting as well, but there's not a lot of cars there. But if me and you went to Denver, Colorado, and went into the mountains, there's going to be snow everywhere.
Yeah.
So why is it not affecting, why are these millions of cars not affecting the Denver ice caps?
Oh, it is.
Is it?
Yeah, not as bad as it would be in a city where you have so much smog that is trapping it in. But and you got to take elevation into account.
I was about
also.
to say, like, what about Anchorage, Alaska? It's all there's always going to be some
There's
ice
a city
there.
there, yeah.
There's always ice there.
Not always in Anchorage, maybe in Fairbanks.
Okay, Fairbanks. There's no matter, that's not even the top of the world. That's like
It's close to the North Pole. But
yeah,
the North Circle.
right.
The North Pole Circle, that is not necessarily the geographical North Pole.
But would you agree that there's more cars in that place of Alaska or in Atlanta?
In Atlanta, of course.
So why is it that we can get snow and crazy snow? I'm talking about it gets cold. When it gets cold, it gets cold. But there, it's always snow. It's always snow in that part of Alaska. Why is that?
Well, that also has to do with their location on the globe. You know, because when they're... All right, this is going to go back to...
No, bring it down. Break this down, brother. I need to hear this.
All right, so you got your globe here. Oh, a ball would be better. Yeah. All right, let's say this is the globe.
Guys, look on screen.
This is the globe, right? Let's pretend this is a ball. The Earth's tilted, right?
Pretend it's a ball.
Yeah. The Earth's tilted, right?
Okay.
So if you're up here and the sun's over here, they're getting less sun rays
I understand.
all the way up there.
But we're not talking about the sun. We're talking about smog from cars.
Yeah. Well, that's just it. It's going to be hotter there now than it was, 200 years ago.
Because of it being trapped in?
Yes. Because there's more particles in the atmosphere. There's more molecules in the atmosphere of those greenhouse gases than there were.
Right.
But it's still a cold area that hasn't quite succumbed to everything melting yet, to put it simplistically. Now, here's another aspect we can bring into this, and we could wrap up with this one. Political agendas. Do you know methane is the second biggest greenhouse gas? Methane. Do you know where the biggest source of methane is?
Probably our bodies.
Yes.
Farts.
Farts. So, there's a lot of vegans in the left.
Ooh, go ahead, but I got something I got to tell you.
Yeah, I mean, that basically explains it. There's a lot of vegans and vegetarians and people who are completely opposed to factory farming.
So are vegans farting less than the No, for real.
No,
this
they're
is
not
an honest
farting
question.
less.
They're farting more?
No, they're farting the same as everyone else. Actually, maybe more because of their dietary intake.
Right.
You take in more fiber, you're going to fart more.
Okay.
So they're actually farting more than meat eaters.
Okay,
That's a good point.
What's your point here?
My point was they want to fight using this global warming agenda. They want to fight factory farming. Because they're saying that factory farming is one of the biggest sources of greenhouse gases and global warming.
Gotcha. That makes sense. That's a good point there. That's a good point, Smokey. I'm going to have to do some more research because I don't know where I stand with this. Some people say it's complete BS.
Yeah.
Some people say that it's 100% real.
I think I'm somewhere in the middle.
I would have to
I think
agree.
it's real, but I don't think it's as bad as either side is saying.
Do you think... Let's go ahead and give a prediction right now.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Day, Covington, Georgia.
Yes.
What would the temperature be?
Christmas Day.
Last year was 75 degrees.
Yeah, I'm going to guess somewhere around 55.
Wow.
You're going to say like 90.
I'm going to go about 75, 80 degrees.
Yeah. I think it'll be cooler this year.
We need to write that down. We'll write that down. He says 55. I say 80 on Christmas. But before we close this out, you were talking about vegans.
Yeah.
Did you know that some vegetarians and some vegans are going to jail, are going to prison for child endangerment because of when a vegan or vegetarian gets pregnant? Feel me on this one. When a vegan or a vegetarian gets pregnant, right?
Yeah.
You have to nourish that child in order for it to grow.
They're not giving them enough protein?
Exactly. And these fetuses, these babies are coming out so malnourished that they're being charged with child endangerment because you're not giving them proper...
Is that a real story?
That's a 100% real story. Think about that. Your choice of lifestyle.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it's no different. If this is actually happening, man, I guess it's no different
than a drug addict.
Oh, yeah. Or you already have a toddler and you're not feeding it properly. You can get charged with that.
Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah. I mean, I guess that would make sense if that is actually happening. I mean, I've never heard of a story like that. But.
Google it. But do you think that's right or wrong? Let's say oh, dude, I'm sorry. All right, let's say you're a Muslim, right? Mm-hmm. And let's say the only way, this is just hypothetically speaking here. Let's say the only way to get proper protein and proper nourishment in your body is to eat pork, right?
Yeah, they won't do that.
Now, Muslims don't eat pork.
Yeah.
Now, let's say your baby comes out born and there's no proper nourishment because you haven't ingested any pork.
Yes.
Could you be prosecuted? Could you go to jail for that?
Yeah, for not doing it. Well, it's really hard to legislate morality and religion. That's a gray area, I guess. And veganism is a religion.
Is it?
Yes.
Is it not just a diet?
No, it goes way beyond diet because they believe, they fight the whole cruelty to animals, and you're not supposed to own animals. You're supposed to let them live free, and
I guess anything you put ism behind it.
Yeah, veganism is a religion. Even some people, I mean, a lot of them are actually atheistic in views, and they don't want to admit, but veganism is a religion.
Yeah, anything with ism is a religion.
Yeah, and you're following a subset of rules that govern the way you live your life. That's a religion.
I agree. Have you heard of this guy that was on the Dr. Phil show called Sexy Vegan? Have you heard of it? Dude, just go home and Google it. Just go home and Google it. You'll thank me later.
Yeah.
You'll thank me later. Anything else you got out there for the people, Smoke Dog?
That's it. We're not telling you what to do.
We're not.
We're just bringing up ideas, sharing thoughts, and you do whatever you want to do. Just try not to go to jail doing it.
Please don't. We don't need another Georgia man story concerning
Exactly.
you guys. With that being said, my name is Behringer Hollywood 6. Bye.
I am Larry, Smokey, Ramirez, Cowan, and I gotta pee.
And we're over and out.
Deuces.